Hey guys, Justin Calora, Temp Fitness Factory. Today we're going to go over a little bit of a movement flow. It's going to be a warm up and stretching. Going to hit all the range of motion and work on all the joints, going through flexibility, range of motion. Got this idea from Mike Bullis Strength and Conditioning. They got some of their stuff through Max Shank, through some in-services they've done with their facility. So stealing some of their ideas, some of mine, putting them together. We're doing these before our workouts or even on off days, depending on how many reps you want to do. A lot of these are going to be holding a stretch. So we're holding, if you're doing it on our own, 3 nice deep breaths. If you're doing it in a group setting, you're actually doing this with a big class. Usually about 20 seconds you can go through, that way everything will stay a little bit more coordinated when you're actually working in a group setting. So I got my cheat sheet here, mainly because there's 19 of these and we don't actually want to do them in a specific order. A lot of these flow with one another, hence movement flow going through. So first one we're going to do, we're actually just going to go through a kneeling hip flexion stretch with these. Curling the toe underneath me. I'm trying to hit hip flexors as much as possible. So keep my back foot, toe curled under. And what I'm trying to do is actually use my glute to press my hips forward. And I'm actually pressing and driving my hips towards the ceiling. We're not gonna hold these so much as we are gonna come out of these and go back and forth into them. So we're actually activating that glute, really pressing hips forward enough where you feel a stretch. Just hold for a second. We're doing about 5 of these. So pick a thing in a group setting, either 3 or 5. We don't really want to do a ton of these, especially if you're doing it on your workout days. So if you're doing this before an actual workout, about 3 would be fine, just enough to get range of motion. We're doing both sides, so we'll do right side, we'll do left side, then we'll go back, do the right side, do the same thing, go into it, really driving the hips forward, actually pressing, stretching the hip flexors. So the next one we're going to do is going to be 90-90s. This is going to be for hip internal rotation and external rotation. You're trying to actually set 90 degree. So the first one, we're actually gonna be leaning forward. This is gonna be external rotation of the front leg. So as we're leaning forward, and this is where the 3 deep breaths come into play. So good diaphragmatic breathing going through. So, and we're doing, like I said, if you're on your own, just do 3 nice deep breaths. If you're doing it in a group setting, just hold about 20 seconds going through. Next one, hip internal rotation. So once we actually get here, I like to support myself. We're turning, rotating the core. I don't want to be so much crunched over, but as I twist and rotate, we're really forcing the central rotation of the back leg. So that's what we're going for. Same thing, 20 seconds or deep breaths. And then we do that on the other side as well. So next one we're gonna do, Tailor Sitting. It's gonna be a great groin stretch. Putting the feet together. I like to actually hold my ankles here. Use your elbows to press your knees down. Try and stay upright. I'm really not a big fan of grabbing the feet and leaning forward. Puts a lot of pressure on the lower spine. So here, I like sitting up nice and straight, pushing your elbows forward. If you want, and you actually have a lot more flexibility than I do, and your knees are almost touching the floor, you can put one hand behind and really force range of motion on one side. You can go into it and press, do 3 times, force range of motion. And then same thing, you do the other side as well, 3 times, force a range of motion to the side. Next one we're gonna do is gonna be half Lotus. This is probably my personal worst one, but what we're gonna start in, normal kind of seated position. We all done this, sitting Indian style. Next thing we're gonna do though, is sitting here, we're gonna take the other foot, bring it across, and this is where I said I'm terrible at these. Bring it across and actually sitting. A lot of people that are a lot better at this than I am can get their knee all the way down towards the foot. So for me, this is already putting a lot of impingement on the hip. This is really forcing some rotation coming through my hips. So we're just gonna sit here, same thing, deep breaths going through, and then we'll switch sides as well. And you kind of need to see a difference, especially for me going through. One side's a lot worse than the other side, which is this side, and I can't get nearly as much range of motion this side. If you can't get to this position, what you can do once you're here is actually just stay here, work on pressing the knee down instead of bringing it all the way over, and then work yourself up into this spot. So from there, half Lotus, we're gonna do a little bit of shoulder mobility. So I can put myself in the fetal position with this, and when I'm doing it, I'm doing this to support lumbar spine. If you do this with a lot of clients, you'll find they want to kind of lay flat, or they'll want to lay really tucked where their hips are tucked up underneath them. I'm just trying to get a nice straight spine, and all I'm doing is a little bit of shoulder mobility. So coming here, keep the back nice and straight. I don't want to open all the way up, twisting through the spine. I actually just want to force shoulder mobility out of this, and just 5 good reps. Once we do that and go through shoulder mobility, opening up, we're actually going to do a rotation. So from there, I want to keep my top arm straight, and I'm dragging as far as I can with my hands into rotation before I start bending my elbow. You'll get to a point like I do, mine's about here, where I can no longer touch the floor. You lift up, go through your range of motion, Just nice slow circle, dragging like I said as far as possibly can, rotating, going all the way around. So we're doing 5 of those as well. Once we're done with those, I'm gonna grab my mat. AirX pads are good for these, so you're not beating up your knees, or if you have the AstroTurf floors, those are even better. So for this, we just did a little bit of shoulder mobility. Now we're actually gonna go to the thoracic side, open that up a little bit. So we're just doing tall kneeling. And one of the big things, especially the Mike Boyle strength condition flow warm up, they'll actually do this toe sitting and just sitting there on the toes, and they'll actually do heel sitting and 2 of these. So what I'm gonna do when I do my thoracic mobility is put those 2 things together. So the first one I'm gonna do is do toe sitting. So my toes are curled up underneath me, one arm forward, and we're going through thoracic mobility. What I'm trying to do is hand behind the head, and I'm trying to actually follow my elbow as I go through this mobility. So one arm forward, going here, and I'm trying to follow my elbow and open up. Same thing, 3 to 5 times, going through this whole warm up. Then I'm gonna do the other side as well, same thing. So from here, now that I'm in that position, I have the toes curled under me. Now I'm gonna actually do the heel sitting. And for you can use a mat. This actually gives you a little bit of cheat on the heel sitting. You'll get a lot more if you're not using the mat here to elevate. This is actually a progression you can go through. So if it hurts too much on the ankles or the joints to actually sit there, use something like this or a wedge. You can actually put under and make it a lot better. Or you can actually take, be a little uncomfortable on the hardwood floors, but you can actually take something like a wedge and put it here to start, and that'll be a progression you can go through. But for now, I don't have any problems with that. So we're just going through on the knees, and we're gonna go through head movements. So trying to work some axial rotation, little flexion, extension, rotation of the cervical spine. So first one we're gonna do, feet are flat. We're actually doing that heel sitting. I'm just gonna do flexion, extension of the neck. So curling under, lifting up. Same thing, nice slow movements. We're doing 5 of these, going all the way down. Not so much where you're rounding your spine, trying to keep that spine nice and straight, leaning down, rotating up. Next one we're gonna do, once we're already in this position, we're actually gonna just do rotation, head, chin, looking over the shoulder, going through these. So 5 on each side, 10 of them. Or like I said, shorter if you're trying to push through this on a workout day. You really just wanna get a good warm up out of it, going through. So once we've done through head rotations, head flexion, we're gonna go push-up positions. We're gonna do typical downward dog. So starting push-up position here, nice good form, nice flat back. We're going into downward dog, holding this position, head tucked under, forcing range of motion. We're just gonna do that 3 times. And then from here, we're going right into our Spiderman. So with the Spiderman, I'm gonna show this both ways. So I'm bringing foot up the side and then coming to here. And I wanna sit up nice and tall. I'm gonna rotate and show it from the other side from a head on view. So we're going from here, that push up. We're gonna bring the foot up next to us and hold here. I like trying to get my chest up nice as possible, holding this first, chest up. If you have super long arms like I do, you can hold yourself up or get even lower. Going through. Next phase of this is gonna be grabbing the ankle and using that elbow to push your knee out. You can just hold it. I like doing it a couple times, so we're sticking with that 5 or the 20-second or 3 deep breaths. So I like just pushing out 5 separate times, going through the Spidermans there. From the Spidermans, we're gonna add into thoracic. From there, we'll do both sides. So once we're here, we did our 5 elbow pushes out. Then we're gonna go into thoracic. I'm gonna take my head and follow my arm as I go through, so more thoracic. And I'm looking up, rotating, following my arm as I go up through this. And same thing, 3 to 5, just pick one and stick with it as you go through 35 reps of this. Hip Flexor thoracic. We're gonna go back into the downward dog position. And from there, we're just doing a calf stretch. So all it is, turn so you can see, go a little diagonal. So once we're here, we do that downward dog position. We're actually gonna bend one knee and get a real deep calf stretch on one side. And we're just gonna switch. And same thing, just hold it for a second, just keep switching sides, get a really deep calf stretch in the downward dog. Okay, from there, we're gonna get a little more fancy. We're gonna do that same Spiderman. We're gonna go a lateral squat, or what I call a tie stretch. From doing kickboxing, it's one of my favorite stretches to do. Really opens everything up, really hits adductors. So from that Spiderman position, going here, we're in the Spiderman. From this stretch, we're gonna be moving in and out of this. So from here, we're gonna stand up, and we're gonna rotate all the way into a tie stretch. Then we're gonna come back to standing, twist, right back into a Spiderman. I'm gonna turn a little bit so you can see this from the other side. So push up, Spiderman. So we're here, we're gonna stand up first, twist, rotate, right into a tie stretch. Big thing with this tie stretch when you're going into a lateral squat, whatever you wanna call it, make sure a lot of people will do this, and they'll wanna elevate that heel off the ground, give them some fake range of motion. I like getting here, butt down, arms forward to help balance yourself into the stretch. So last time, coming up into that tie stretch. From there, we can transition right into our V stance, walk-ins, walk-outs. So from this V stance, I want to try to keep my feet nice and straight. I'm trying not to externally rotate my feet, and I don't want my heels to come up. So all we're going to do with this is keeping the heels flat, walking out as far as you can until right before the heels start lifting up. From there, we're going to walk back as well. Same thing, a couple of times. And then from this, once I've done it back and forth 3 or 5 times, then I'm gonna go through my thoracic mobility. So going here, same thing as before when we did the Spiderman thoracic. We're doing this, following the hand with our head. And you can alternate, or you can do same side all the way through, doesn't matter. I typically like alternating because when I'm doing the Spiderman, I'm doing the same side. So with these, I really like to alternate through. And then from here, I'm going back to that tie stretch. This is what I meant about these kind of flow together. And I'm gonna go right back into that tie stretch, and I'm just gonna go side to side. So going here, nice deep tie stretch. Then we'll go back to the other side, nice deep tie stretch. And you get some people that are even better at this than I am, and they can actually get their butt pretty much touching the floor when you're going through. Really good job of opening the hips with this. Make sure this is a big part of it. A lot of people try to do this, and then it really, your hip kind of blocks you. So you get here, you can really drop down a lot lower. And that's the other part too. As soon as you do this, that heel wants to lift. So that's the big part of doing this, is keeping the toe point towards the ceiling. And that'll help you out with doing the stretch if you're having problems with it. So from there, we're gonna go into deep squats. Feet wider than you normally would when you're doing your an actual good form squat. So feet wider, even turned out, a little too wide. So we're going through, I want knees inside, I want elbows inside my knees, and I'm gonna do 3 push-outs on each side. So I'm just taking that elbow, and I'm just gonna push 3 times on the inside. I'm gonna do the other side 3 times, or 5 if that's what you're doing for the day. And then I'm gonna do both. Then from there, we're doing a toe touch squat, full form. So with these, what I'm gonna do, we're gonna end up in that same squatted position. I'm gonna grab toes, get a good hamstring stretch to start out. From there, I'm dropping my butt into that same position, back nice and straight, right arm, left arm, coming up, squeezing glutes, getting nice core fundamentals, good form squat. We're doing 3 of these. And last ones we're gonna do for the day are gonna be yoga tables. So, with yoga tables, I want my hands pointing the opposite way. I'm on my heels doing this. And from here, I'm gonna be driving my hips up, squeezing the glutes, trying not to arch your back doing this, try to have your hips actually tucked underneath you. Up, yoga tail, driving glutes. Same thing, 3 of these. And that's pretty much our whole flow. Dynamic warm-up is gonna be next. So we'll already do the myofascial release when you first come in, do the foam rolling side of it. Then we'll go right into the flow, and then we'll do dynamic warm-up, which is pretty much just stretching while moving. If your heart rate's not up enough and you're not sweating enough, we'll go into that stuff next.